Hey, what's up, everybody? It's rock and roll comedian Don Jamieson. You're listening to the Cobras and Fire Podcast. Rock is not dead. No, it's not. I don't care what Gene Simmons said. Rock is not dead. It's very alive. So pay attention and crank it up.
Here's what I love. I love when they've combined now alcohol with things you would never...
Yeah, I'm ready when you are, man.
All right. I'd like to welcome back to the program comedian Don Jamieson. He's got a new album coming out, Denim Laughter, on Metal Blade Records. Don, welcome back.
Good to be back, and yeah, the album is out now, so stream it on Apple Music or download it on iTunes or Spotify, or God forbid, you come see me live and pick up a physical copy on CD, and soon, vinyl.
Ooh, nice. You know, Don, that's all well and good, but we need to get right to the point that people really want to hear from you. And are you ready to lay out your plan for how you're going to stop the spread of the coronavirus?
I'm just going about my day just like any other day. I don't know. I don't understand what this coronavirus is. Like, every channel is a coronavirus channel now. You know what I mean? The local news, coronavirus. You put on CNN or Fox, coronavirus. You got Naked and Afraid, coronavirus edition. I mean, I can't take it anymore.
I'm looking forward to that edition of Naked and Afraid.
You know what Elizabeth Warren told me? Good way to combat the coronavirus is just have yourself a cold beer.
Well, I'll do that right now if it's okay.
Absolutely. I certainly don't want you to get sick in the middle of this interview.
Correct. Yeah. And back at you. You know, no joke. This morning I heard. I haven't quite dug down the rabbit hole. I plan to do that very soon. But apparently there is coronavirus porn out there.
Oh God, you just made my day. All right. So, now here's another type of weird porn I got to get into.
It's like we need to wear protection. I don't like rubbers, and then they put on, not talking about rubbers, and then they put on the mask. You know, maybe have like a glory hole mask.
Yeah.
So you can still perform, you know, the oral work with. I don't know. I'm trying to dance around the obvious here. Yeah, give a blowjob with the goddamn mask on. How do you pull that off?
Well, I mean, but even better than that, you just gave me a great Valentine's gift idea for next year.
Oh, nice.
Nice coronavirus blowjob mask. Honey, this means I love you. You know. Got to do the right things to the one, for the ones that you love.
You got to get them in the mood.
Oh, jeez, that's where the beer comes in.
Yeah, oh yeah. It's like some couple naked people in Ground Zero, Wuhan. Streets are empty and they're just banging. I don't know. I'm gonna have to hit YouPorn when we're done here and do a little more research. But yeah, I heard it on the radio this morning. They played some clip and I'm like, I wonder if Don has watched any coronavirus porn, but anyway.
Well, it's for research purposes only.
Okay.
So I just want people to know that. Yeah.
Of course, yeah. Exactly. If anything else happens, it's just merely coincidence. But
well, I always do research with a box of Kleenex and some hand lotion near me.
Well, one of the new things you have going on is the That Jamieson Show.
Yeah, I do my own little version of That Metal Show over there on compoundmedia.com, and just trying to keep the spirit alive a little, like Tony Iommi, kept the Black Sabbath name going with all those years where he had the 19 different singers, and you kind of wondered why is he still calling this Black Sabbath? I mean, but then you saw what happened. Ronnie came back eventually, and Ozzy came back. So, just trying to keep the spirit of what Eddie and Jim and I did alive. Those guys have shows on Sirius XM where they're doing their thing, and I found a nice home for what I want to do, and it's a cool video cast, so if people want to check it out, there's some episodes also up on YouTube, so just type in That Jamieson Show, and you could see what the hell I'm up to.
Do you consider that a podcast, or?
I guess it would be called a video cast.
Okay.
So, but yeah, it's an hour show, and, obviously I talk to a bunch of rockers on there, and I have comedians on and stuff like that. So, it's a little bit more than well-rounded than what we did on That Metal Show. But again, it's the same kind of spirit. Mm-hmm. And, obviously the three of us, still great friends. Jim and Eddie have both been on the show. So, until if and when That Metal Show comes back, that's what I'll be doing.
And also, if you kind of go through the archives, you can catch a dramatic reading of the Kiss classic "Fits Like a Glove."
Hornet's nest, lay me down to rest. I want to shed my skin. I got the urge to merge. Okay, you're cold as ice, baby. Won't you let me in?
Yes, you've been doing your homework. I see. Oh, boy, you're doing a lot of research this week.
It's not just porn,
that
man.
Jamieson Show, coronavirus porn. Yeah, you. I like an interviewer who prepares. Yes, and Joanne Ozachinsky's gonna come, who has a show on the same network. She's gonna come back this coming week and do Saxon's Denim and Leather, because I figured obviously that would be fitting. Considering I just put out Denim and Laughter. So, we'll look for Joanne to do some more of those fun readings of classic metal lyrics.
Do you like the term hornet's nest as a way to reference the vagina?
I never heard that one.
I think it's in Fits Like a Glove. Maybe I have my Kiss songs wrong, but...
oh, is it?
Hornet's nest, baby, let me rest.
I think you... I thought Fits Like a Glove, because I really wanted her to read the line, I'm going to put my log in your fireplace.
Burn,
but
bitch,
that's
burn.
It from Burn, Bitch, Burn. Yeah, so I got that wrong. So she'll come back and do Burn, Bitch, Burn, because those are great lyrics. Gene, no Bob Dylan, that's for sure. But
thank God, actually, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, exactly. Gene knows exactly where his wheelhouse is. So God bless, man. I've been a Kiss fan since I'm 11, and always will be.
Have you caught him on the End of the Road tour at all?
I have not, and that's not because I don't want to go. It just, the times they've been near me, I've been away, but I will get to one before it's all over. And if I don't see, this End of the Road tour, I'll see the End of the Road tour too.
I'm looking. I'm holding out for that one. I wasn't gonna ask this, but you reminded me of something because I ended up catching. I think it had to be last summer. But the Dio hologram tour. Did you catch the Holo Dio thing at all?
I love the Dio hologram tour. I'm big into this hologram stuff, man. And I'm becoming good friends with the company, the guy that owns the company that does it. Because, I figure maybe, like if he has a little extra hologram laying around, like after he gets done with the Dio one, like maybe he could do a Jamieson hologram, and then I never have to leave my house, and I could just tell jokes all over the world via the Don Jamieson hologram. That'd be so great.
Do you think more like maybe Vince Neil should be using a hologram, or you can kind of slim him down a little bit, or anything like that? There'd be a lot of kind of these aging rockers could kind of preserve some of their youthful integrity, if they took advantage. Don't you think?
Well, that's the thing, too, is like, we talk about these farewell tours, which are never farewell tours, right? We all know this at this point.
Yeah.
Nobody's fooling us. And now it's like, not only don't you retire, even if you die, you don't retire. They'll just make a hologram of you and then put you right back out on tour. So I think it's a cool thing. I think the technology's great, and not just the video portion of it. It's the audio that was really amazing to me, especially with Ronnie, because, out of whatever it was, 16 songs, they were taken from different years and different countries and on different recording equipment, and it all sounded seamless. So, that's a big part of it as well. And then, of course, you got the live singers on stage and the live band and all that. Man, I think it's a cool thing. So for people who, I know there's naysayers out there, but if you can, go check it out, man. I've seen that one. I've seen Frank Zappa, and I like both of them, man. I thought they were cool.
Full disclosure, I am one of the naysayers. We've talked about it on the show quite a bit, but I did go check it out. I don't think the technology is quite there yet. I didn't think the hologram, it didn't pop or impress me as much as I was expecting the visual aspect of it. I'll admit the band was really good.
Cool. Yeah, well, listen, I mean, and it might not be for everybody. I get that, but I'm just, like I said, I'm digging it. And believe me, I'm an old school guy. I didn't think I would enjoy it as much as I did. And the weird thing was going to see the Frank Zappa one, and I was sitting next to his son Amit during the show, which is I'm watching him watch his dead dad on stage. So that had an extra kind of layer to that show.
That would fuck with me, man.
Oh, it did, man. It did.
No, there's another host of this show that when we're not doing interviews, it's the two of us. He's all for it like you are. He's full on board. He supports it. He thinks it should be done more. So it's whatever. It is like you said. Maybe it's just not for everybody. But I did take the time to go out and check it out. I'm not trying to convince people against it, other than when I say I'm against it, and so should you be.
Right. Okay. Fair. Listen, Baco. You've done your research. You are a very thorough music lover, and again, I appreciate that.
Well, maybe you'll appreciate this, unless IMDb is wrong. But were you actually in Pauly Shore is Dead?
Yes, I am in it. Don't blink. I do have a line. It's myself and Kurt Loder from MTV together. That was, we did a scene together. Not exactly De Niro and Pacino, but I did do a small part. I've known Pauly for 30 years. I've done a couple things with Pauly, and I like Pauly. He gets a bad rap, but he's actually a really good dude, man.
I'm actually with you. I think he's funny. I've always liked him, and I might be one of the only people to say this, but I love that movie. I bought it.
I think it's a hysterical movie, and I was also an associate producer on it. I did the post production with the editor on it. And you got to see all the scenes that got cut out are like there's like 30 other celebrity cameos that got cut out of that movie. So I mean, what you're seeing in there was only the tip of the iceberg. But yeah, it was a funny concept because Pauly got to a point where he realized, look, I'm not. It's not the MTV era anymore. I'm not people don't know me as the Weasel anymore. And it was a great idea to sort of make fun of himself and say, well, I'll fake my own death so people like me again. And it was a really great premise for the movie. And, he got Sean Penn to be in it. He got a million people to be in it. So,
yeah.
He did a good job. I'm glad you liked that one, man. It's a cool movie.
I'm going to have to dig it out of my collection just to kind of spot you. Do you have a rough idea whereabouts in the movie, early, middle, end?
It's right after... the news gets out that Pauly Shore was dead, and so it's towards the beginning, like the first third of the movie. And that's what
Kurt Loder's reporting on. Is that what's going on?
Yeah, Kurt Loder's reporting on it, and then I sort of, it's like they're like, I yell cut, and then I kind of come in, and Kurt and I have a word back and forth. He said something, about Pauly, like, who cares or whatever, and I go, come on, the dude's a legend, something like that.
Okay.
So, it's very quick, but Pauly's good people, man.
Have you done much writing that ended up with our television or movies or anything like that?
Well, yeah, I wrote for a ton of the Comedy Central roasts, and I wrote on the Gene Simmons roast, when he was doing the Family Jewels, and I've done a bunch of stuff, man. Done a bunch of stuff behind the scenes. The Trump roast, which they still air that Trump roast once in a while, Comedy Central, because I was in the audience for that one. I always get calls like, because now that he's obviously he wasn't president then.
Right.
It was like 7 or 8 years ago, and so people are like, oh my God, I didn't know there was a Donald Trump roast, and you were there. I go, yeah, I wrote some of the mean, nasty stuff about him.
Do you remember any of it?
No.
Okay. That's great.
Too many coronavirus curing beers since then.
You're kind of focused only on the coronavirus humor at this point, but
I'm locked in, baby.
All right. I did want to ask you about Dee Snider. He's got a petition to get. He basically wants AC/DC, I think, to play the Super Bowl halftime show. He's kind of gone pretty vocal on this for some time. And at least going back to when they announced J-Lo and Shakira, but this kind of comes up every year, and when they announce it, that somebody in the hard rock community, tends to get on their soapbox and kind of wants an answer as to why this isn't happening. What is your take? Do you think this is a good idea to bring in kind of like one of the iconic rock or metal bands? Because to me, it could be kind of a bad move because of what the event actually is.
I mean, look, and on my album, I have a track where I kind of address this. So that to me is my final statement. I'm still traumatized by Adam Levine's nipples. So that was kind of my little manifesto on the new comedy CD. But as far
without
as what
spoiling
Dee's doing,
it, can you touch on the topic at all?
well, I don't want to touch on the topic because the topic is Adam Levine's nipples, and I don't care to touch them. Although many women do care to, and probably a lot of men as well, but I wouldn't be included as one of them. But now people could hear it on the album. But as far as what Dee's doing, I mean, come on, D is such a passionate dude.
Sure.
And, you know, like you know how earnest he is about doing this, and of course he picked the perfect band to do it. I mean, you know, like babies come out of their mother's wombs, and they already know who AC/DC is. You know, 97-year-old great-great-great-grandparents know who AC/DC is. So that's a no-brainer right there. Everybody knows Back in Black. Everybody knows Thunderstruck. So if there's a band that you're going to do it with, that's probably the band to do it with. And, I think he's going to need – I think he's got like 30,000 signatures. I think he's going to need 30 million to make the NFL even respond to that. But, we'll see what happens, man. Of course, you wouldn't want to see For Those About to Rock and the cannons going off and all that shit, man. That'd be killer.
And for me, I think, you know, like if you look back at kind of the heyday of metal, it seemed like we accepted the idea that we weren't for everybody because they just didn't fucking get it. And now it seems like we want to be pulled into this world of lip syncing and kind of glamour and boom and bop. Honestly, my personal opinion is don't do it at all. Like nobody. Show fucking the first half highlights like you do at a normal game. Go to the second half. I really don't need it at all. But that, you know, because I think about like when the Rolling Stones did it, or the Who, or even Prince, more rock-centric artists that actually did a pretty solid, you know, live performance. They got kind of shredded a little bit. I mean, at least the reaction was mixed. And basically what it comes down to is that you're not really going to please anybody. And if you're going to force people to lip sync, I'd kind of prefer some of my heroes not be involved in that, I guess. But
okay, well, I'm totally down with what you're saying. And look, at this point, you know, the Super Bowl halftime show has basically just become, you know, like a 25-minute block of time where you could drop a deuce and then get back for the game. That's really what it's become.
I haven't watched it in a couple of years. So hey, to your point, if AC/DC was on it next year, I would be paying attention. Or Metallica would be another one that gets thrown out there that's big enough. But even the Foo Fighters, fuck it, throw them out there. For the most part, if they're just going to lip sync anyway, I don't really care. It wasn't that great when the Chili Peppers showed up and their instruments weren't plugged in. It just, I don't know.
Well, then they always got to shoehorn in like a pop star or something, you know, to balance it out. Which is like, no, you know what? You want Aerosmith to play the Super Bowl halftime show? Let them go up there and play live. Or Metallica, you know, when Metallica did the Grammys last year, they had the crowbar in Lady Gaga.
Yeah.
Now I understand she is a legit fan of hard rock and metal. To what degree, I'm not sure. But it's like, can we have freaking 4 minutes to ourselves for once? You gotta crowbar in Post Malone on everything. Come on.
My lord. Yeah, are you referencing the new Ozzy? They collaborated, and plus he's on Ozzy's new record.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's kind of the go-to guy these days. You know, he's the guy now that everybody wants to, you know, have his fancy face tattoos. You know.
What a look, huh?
Yeah, now he's saying on social media, he goes, yeah, it's you know, I think it's because of my, you know, my negative body image and stuff. I don't want to hear that. I want rock stars. I want Steven Tyler shooting up 8 balls. That's what I want. I don't want to hear about I have negative body images. Wah! You
don't want that college roommate that got his face drawn on while he was passed out?
Oh, that happens all the time.
Well, right, that's what he looks like, though. He's like that kind of doofus guy that like always passed out at the wrong time.
Yeah, like he passed out on the Faster Pussycat tour bus, and he walked off into the hotel, and the people behind the counter were like, "Oh my God, look at the guy's face!" But he never washed it off.
He went right to the tattoo parlor and said, "Make this shit permanent."
Exactly.
Oh man. Hey, I got a semi-serious question for you. Semi-serious because let's face it, we're not talking about anything that matters. We call ourselves a comedy rock podcast, but neither one of us have ever done stand-up or done any like professional writing on that. So my question for you is: at what point, what's the criteria where someone can actually call themselves a comedian?
I think getting paid for it.
Okay.
I would say. Yeah,
we're in trouble.
That's where you could say, I'm a comedian. If you're not, then you say, yeah, I do comedy on the side. I'm trying to break in, or I do it as a hobby or whatever. But yeah, I mean, to say, look, I'm a comedian. Yeah, I think you got to at least have been paid for it, at least once.
So it's not like you needed to have done some stand-up because you could be a comic writer and still be a comedian as long as you're being paid in your book?
No, you're a comedy writer.
Okay. See? So stand-up has to be part of the process.
Well, if you want to say you're a comedian or a comic, yeah, you have had to get paid. Because I know guys who are still out there they've been doing open mics for 20 years.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say they're comics. I'd say they're people who like to write and go up and perform stuff, but they, obviously they're not taking it seriously enough to make a career choice on it. But yeah, if you can go out and get paid to do it, and believe me, I've seen some people way worse than me go out and get paid to do it. So, me and
like who? Who are you talking about?
Oh well, nobody you would know, but honestly, the guy. People
I thought you were going to say Dane Cook, but no.
No. Well, yeah, Dane Cook is. Yeah, I wish I had his bank account.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, my real inspiration in comedy, because a lot of people say, well, what comics influenced you, and sure, Carlin, Dice, Richard Pryor, all the standard answers, but the guy who really inspired me was when I used to go to gigs with Florentine, just to hang out and just pal around. And the first time I ever went to a gig with him, the MC went up, and he had a complete zero for 15 minutes. It was silent in the room. He walked off stage, went right up to the owner. I saw the guy counting out cash into his hand. Guy went right next door to the strip club, and I'm like, I could suck that bad and get paid. And that's really what inspired me to do comedy.
It's kind of like how Kiss inspired me to pursue music.
I don't know. That's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah,
but all right.
Yeah. No, actually, by the way, I'm a huge Kiss fan.
Yeah. No, look, and we all make fun. I do it on my albums. We make fun of the people and, definitely the bands that we love the most. I mean, if you watch That Metal Show, Jim and I were constantly on the attack with Eddie, but that's because we love him. That's how we show affection in New Jersey.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, hey, if you're not, we like to say we make fun of the people we love, but, whatever. It's typically a term of endearment. Sometimes it's not.
Yeah. No, look, Jim and Eddie and I will, and we still get together, and when we see each other, I'll go, Eddie, that jacket's awful, and then he'll tell Jim, what are you dyeing your hair now? And then they'll both say my sideburns are terrible, and now let's go get a beer. Now that we got the insulting out of the way, now let's go have a beer and hang out.
With that metal show, I mean, it's probably a done deal at this point. I mean, I don't know any of the behind-the-scenes stuff unless you want to tell me something, but it's also hard to find streaming. Like, I think VH or MTV Classic or whatever has it, but yet you have to, pay per episode or something. Last time I looked into it anyway. It'd be nice if some of those back episodes are just kind of out there for people to just check out, like throw it up on YouTube or something. I realize you probably have no control over that. I'm just sharing an idea.
I agree. For whatever reason, they sell the last season we ever did, season 14, on iTunes, okay. And I think on YouTube you could buy the shows. But I don't know, man. It's an anomaly. I always say, look, we got to give us credit. We know how to get a show canceled, man. We take down the whole network and everybody with us. So.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I forgot it.
No
all happened right away.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I assume you get asked about it a lot. That's got to kind of feel good, right? That you had that big of an impact. I mean, it was must-see TV in my house.
Yeah, thanks, man. Of course. I mean, we know because we're people who love hard rock and metal, and those are the most loyal fans in the world. Just like I have never forgotten about Headbangers Ball, and Ricky even tells me to this day, he's like, DJ, I can't believe of all the things I've done in my career, and and even after I cut my hair, he goes, to this day, this thing I still get, asked about the most is Headbangers Ball, and I go, yeah, that's the fans of this music. We know that because we are those people. So once people, that's why we always said when we did that metal show, it's got to be like just honest talk, just like the three of us are just hanging out backstage, sitting on some road cases, and because metal fans they're good, man. They could sniff out phoniness, man. So we were just like, we just got to do it this way, and yeah, grateful people are still asking about it, man.
You guys kept it pretty. I don't know what the right way to say is. You didn't really change too much that was working. You know what I mean? You kind of kept a pretty good integrity to the way you approached it every week.
Oh yeah, thanks. The core of it was the chemistry with the three of us. And that took a little while to gel, even though we were all friends previously. But you'd have these creative meetings with the network, and they'd go, come up with 50 new ideas for next season, and then we'd all get together with our papers and go through, and then maybe one of them would be good, and we work that in, and so yeah, I mean we tried to keep the segments people really loved, and then we tried to kind of put some stuff in there, and we tried a few things over the years that just didn't work, so we just did them once. But yeah, man, I'm proud of the work that we did, man. And if we never do it again, we had a good run, and it's 2020 is the year of the rock reunion, so be cool to be a part of that.
No shit. And by the way, everybody's on tour. Did you notice that?
Yeah, it's gonna be a huge summer. So
every band is announced. I don't know, whatever. It's crazy.
Yeah, I know. People are really going to have to, make a choice, and it's, especially hard rock and metal heavy this summer. So,
definitely.
But nobody going to see Korn and Faith No More are going to go see Motley Crue and Poison. I mean, those are, I would, but
I know what you're saying.
Most of those audience will be different.
Yeah. What do you think about that Motley Lap stadium tour? It they kind of talked about these very fast sellouts, but the reality was those tickets sold to Ticket King and StubHub, and they're all, they were available there.
Yeah, I don't, that's the business model now.
Yeah,
I don't sort of get involved with that stuff, but yeah, I don't know. The Metallica, I think, got in a little trouble with that, where they sort of bought a whole bunch, and then they were putting on a secondary market and all this stuff. I don't know. If I see a show, I just go to it. I don't know who's getting the money, whatever. How much is it? All right, I'll pay this much to go see this band or whatever, or I won't.
Well, maybe a better question for you, because, that is kind of the business side of stuff. With Motley Crue, they were the one band that I thought, I was actually a little surprised when they came back for a myriad of reasons, but nobody tried harder to say this really is it. And it was only 4 years later that they come back. That's a bit
right.
rough.
So Twisted Sister, they'll be back, 2022 then? And Slayer 2025-ish, end of 2024, beginning of 25.
So as album cycles get further and further apart, the reunion cycles get the downtime shrinks. Is that what's happening now?
Yeah, exactly. Now, look, the Judas Priest tried to do it. The Scorpions have tried to do it. Everyone's tried to do it, and nobody's done it. So
You're right.
Twisted is on the clock, and Slayer's on the clock, and just like I told Mick Mars on that metal show, you guys are on the clock right now. You will be back.
That was great,
I'm not
by
saying
the way.
Well, and I wasn't saying it to be a dick, and I wasn't saying it because I thought that he was lying. I honestly felt that they were done. A lot of those guys don't even get along in that band. It's like, all right, let's just call it a day. We just did this massive tour with Alice Cooper. It's over. But then you're home for a year or two, and you start going, It's fun playing in front of 30,000 people, and you get the itch again. If you could still do it, why not? Athletes just get too old to do it. No athlete wants to quit, but it's like, you can't play linebacker at 63 years old. It's just not physically possible. But if you can get Twisted Sister back on stage. I mean, D. Snyder's got six-pack abs. I haven't had six-pack abs since I'm 11. I mean, the guy's still in shape. He can still sing. Why is he doing petitions? Get that band back out on the road, D. Come on.
Yeah, I will give the Scorpions and Judas Priest, a couple bands you mentioned there, a little bit of credit because in the midst of their farewell tour, they said, you know what? No, we're just going to keep going.
Yeah.
They're like,
they realized it early.
Yeah, they didn't they didn't sign a contract, and I don't know. Look, it doesn't really matter when it comes down to it. I get that, and yeah, but I got a feeling you're probably not going to give me you're probably not going to want to get into this, but to me, I think there are signs that some of these guys can't do it anymore. Like you talked about a linebacker at 63. I'm going to be very curious to see what kind of shape Vince comes out in because he hasn't really been at the top of his game for a couple decades. And to be blunt, and Mick Mars, God bless him because he's an icon in my eyes, but he just, he's not really getting younger. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, the thing with Mick, the impression that I got, and I only met him and hung with him the one time when he came to do the show, and he's a real sweetheart of a guy. I hate to ruin the kind of mystique of, because he's really never interviewed, so he kind of has this image of being like kind of this dark wizard type of guy. But he really is a really down to earth, sweet guy. But I get the sense with Mick, which is that if he can get onto the stage, that's all he cares about. That's a guy who just wants to play, Like, get me up there on the stage in front of my mic, plug my guitar in, and that's, I could see Mick like one of those guys, like, where'd be the ultimate place to die would be on stage, because at least he'd go out, knowing that he was playing. So a guy like Vince, I don't know, Vince is committed, man. Even when they were doing Motley, he'd be off tour for 2 days. He'd be out with a solo band playing again. So I don't know. I don't know if the weight's the problem. I'm not sure. There's plenty of fat guys who can sing. I mean, Pavarotti, had no problem, right? So
yeah.
It could be other stuff that's not, maybe he's just not taking care of himself in other ways. Shall we
Certainly,
say.
yeah. It seems like his voice has kind of been gone, and I'm not just talking about the taking a lot of breaths between words and that kind of thing. It just doesn't sound quite the same as it should, And I would say Paul Stanley's in that camp right now. As much shit as he's talked about Ace and Peter not being able to do the gig, I think it shows some balls that he's out there. And I'm not trying to drag you into this, Don. I'm just saying that I think some of these guys have kind of pushed it a little bit past the if you can still do it line.
Right, and so if this is the end of the road, which they're already walking it back by saying, well, no, there'll be more shows.
Yeah,
everything's on a technicality. But yeah, to me, I think Paul's lost a little off his fastball, and that's all right. When you're in your 60s, I mean, that happens sometimes. And then you have guys like Ronnie Dio, who was, 67, 68 when he passed away, and his voice was still kicking. So sometimes it's the luck of the draw or genetics, or I'm not sure. Some guys take great care of their voice and they still lose it, and other guys smoke and drink and don't take care of themselves, and they just have this gift. I mean, that Glenn Hughes can still sing like he can sing.
Amazing. From
all those years in the 70s and 80s of just doing insane amounts of cocaine. That guy can sing like Aretha Franklin today, like in his mid to late 60s, is ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I mean, boy, the pipes on that fucking dude, man. And I wasn't taking a shot at Paul. Because I'm want to do that if I feel like it, but because he's just delivered for so long. He's one of the greatest voices in rock. He is up there. It's just a reality, is all I'm getting at.
Absolutely, and I'm not disagreeing with you. Like I said, I think Paul has lost a little off the fastball.
Yep.
When I saw the the Zeppelin, that O2 concert, that the film they put out in 2007, that was like Robert Plant, same thing. He lost a little off his fastball, but when he needed it, when he needed to throw a 95-mile-an-hour heater, he could do it.
Yeah.
But you could tell he was throwing more change-ups, some off-speed stuff a lot of the times. But when he really needed it, when he really needed that 95-mile-an-hour fastball, he had it. He couldn't throw it 20 times a game, but he could throw it 5 times a game. And when he picked the spots, he nailed it. So, look, I just talk for a living. I've never had a vocal problem, luckily. But like I said, sometimes it just seems really friggin' random.
No, I'm with you there, yeah, because, it was nice, Ozzy seemed to lose it in the late 90s, and same with Brian Johnson. Then all of a sudden, like, in the mid to late 2000s, they had a couple studio releases. It was like they were reborn almost. So it was almost like there is a way to kind of rest and recover. I was really, I was hopeful that was going to happen with Paul, but, so far we haven't seen that, but who knows?
Yeah, and I saw Vince with his solo band not this past summer, but the summer before at a festival out in Kansas City that I go to every year, and he played a set. He sounded great. So,
what do you think of that drummer he has from the Slaughter drummer, Zoltan?
Zoltan, yeah, he's amazing. I love him, man. He's he's so opposite of that off stage. I mean,
really?
The guy on stage is completely insane. Yeah, with all that stuff jumping off the tops of the speakers and crashing his cymbals and playing with his feet and behind his back, and then the guy off stage is so quiet. He doesn't drink. He doesn't never done drugs. He's a family guy. His wife goes everywhere with him. I think he's religious. Like, it's just,
wow.
It's such an opposite guy off stage. Yeah, he's a really cool dude.
Yeah, if people don't know what we're talking about, just check out Zoltan, Slaughter drummer.
Chaney.
Zoltan Chaney, there you go. Just Google that, watch a couple of videos, and the guy doesn't miss a beat. That's the most amazing thing, is that during all this, it's like, they're not like lagging on time on the song or anything like that.
Right. No, I know. I'm always mystified when I see him play, because you're right. He keeps the beat. And yeah, it's the Slaughter band is Vince's solo band as well. So they do a lot of double bills together.
Yeah.
And, so you get a double dose of Zoltan there, but yeah, he's part of the reason you watch the show. I mean, he's a focal point.
When it comes to Vince, he's pretty much the main point for me, but largely because Vince doesn't really do much with his set list. He's kind of, I've seen him, I don't know, about a half a dozen times as a solo artist, and it's been pretty much the same kind of song. So I always look forward to watching Zoltan. Yeah,
no, again, and a killer guy, man. So,
cool.
I think it took like Vince like a year to learn his name because like Vince is up front doing his thing, and I remember somebody interviewed him and said, "Who's that guy that plays drums for?" He goes, "Oh yeah, Dana found him." He didn't even know his name. It was like, all right, but he knows him now.
I always had this like bit about Brett Favre, like not knowing the names of his like teammates. Like he would just call him Big Guy and Shooter and stuff like that. That maybe Vince is like that. Hey, what's up, buddy?
Right, yeah, no, or yeah, that's Dana's friend.
Yeah,
Dana's friend.
Hey, you're the guy with Dana hangs out with. Yeah. Hey, the Monsters of Rock cruise just wrapped up. Were you on it this year? You've done it a few times, right?
Yeah, I've done. I think this is my 6th. So yeah, it was really cool as usual. It's the best party of the year. It's completely insane, and it's the one place in the world where I'm like Channing Tatum on that cruise. Everybody on there knows me. I'm like the hot chick on the boat.
Oh God.
Everybody wants to buy you drinks, but then
nice.
I get home and I go to Olive Garden and I get no extra breadsticks or anything.
You gotta ask. Can I get more salad?
Yeah, hey, I used to do that, Meadows. Never mind. I'll pay for the breadsticks. Fine.
Yeah, I think we talked about it last time you were on. You mingle. You're a man of the people on the cruise, right?
I love it. Yeah, man. Because this is what happened. Like, look at we've been on the phone for at least a half hour already, and we're just having a conversation. And so I get into it with people. Like, you know, we start talking about stuff, and then the next thing you know, like an hour went by, and you're like, oh, shit. All right, I got to go watch a band, you know. That's going on all day, too, you know, and I don't want to miss bands either.
I only ask because I'm have a bit of a relationship with him, friends, I should say. Ron Keel, did you catch up with him at all?
Oh, yeah. I came in, you know, Ron and I were on the bus to the port together, and then on the way to the airport afterwards. And, yeah, of course, I saw him on the cruise. He was with his girl, and, I introduced Keel one night, and they played up on the pool stage. I think the first night or second night, and I've known Ron for a few years, and he's a great dude, and it's cool to see him doing his thing. And you know, he's kind of veered off and done some different stuff over the years, but I'm always glad that he returned back to Keel, man. And that guy can still sing like a mofo, man.
I was just gonna say that. We were talking about people who can still do it, man. I've seen a bunch of his shows recently, and man, he can deliver.
No doubt.
Well, let's get to your latest release here, Denim and Leather. Now, are you running out of records that are Denim and Laughter that have the word leather in it that you can slop in laughter?
Well, you know, that wasn't on purpose. That was me drinking wine with Biff Byford, the singer from Saxon, and just sort of in a silly, buzzed mood. I was like, maybe I'll call my next album Denim and Laughter, and then he liked the idea so much it just stuck, and they were cool enough to let me use literally the exact same artwork and everything, and I just changed the lettering around and replaced his head on the back on the motorcycle with my head.
I haven't seen the back of the album cover yet, so that's what the album. Well, you just described it, so I'll have to check that out.
Well, on the back, they're on the Denim and Leather. They're all on.
Right.
On
no, I'm familiar with their cover. I'm like, but I haven't seen yours. Because you did the same type of thing on Hellbent for Laughter, where you kind of just recreated that album cover with your face.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm just stealing people's logos and artwork and making it my own. So
nice.
I haven't been sued yet.
Well, you know, you're a comedian. It's parody.
Well, yeah, but I wouldn't mind if somebody sued me. I could use the publicity.
I just interviewed Donnie V, and there was a little bit of back and forth about like whether or not they were going to set it up, and there was things they didn't want me to ask, and and I'm talking to his publicist or manager or something like that, and I probably will cut this out of the interview, but probably not something he wants me to share. I'll tell you, but it was kind of funny. He was like, "You don't want to be deposed, do you?" And I'm like, I thought about it. I'm like, well, I'm not really sure what that means, but yeah, probably good for a show if I got dragged into some kind of legal shit.
Exactly. Think how good that's going to be for Cobras and Fire if you're like embroiled in the middle of this whole thing. I'm thinking of suing that Roundup thing for giving me Hodgkin's lymphoma. Just so I could get a little exposure out there, man.
Oh,
right. You know how everybody's suing that Roundup thing, that weed killer stuff.
Yep. You just want to get in on that?
I might join in on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might, but I don't think that's good karma because luckily I'm never had cancer, but certainly we know a lot of people. All of us know people who have been affected by it. No. But anyway, bad joke.
I think people knew where you were going with there.
Yeah.
There is kind of that talk about like how comedians, have to. We're so politically correct now. I hope I'm right, but my gut feeling is that we are really not that politically correct. It's just that there is a vocal minority that seems to want to have something to fucking say about everything, and then every goddamn Yahoo News or MSN wants to run with these headlines. It's like local man says upset over something Don Jamieson said. You know what I mean? Right.
I mean, you said it perfectly. I agree 100%, and that's why I put my albums out. I do what I want on there. One of the tracks. A bunch of the album. In fact, the theme of the album is this PC society that we live in and how we need to avoid it. So, it's a very vocal minority, like you said. And then what happens is, then people kind of go, oh, well, I guess I could kind of see their point, and then they start, and it's like, no, don't think about it. It's like, if you already laughed at it, you can't come back later and go, no, I didn't like that. There's got to be a statute of limitations on fake outrage. Like, if you don't complain in the first 24 hours, then you have no case. If your case is
I think you're giving them too much time. I think you got 10 seconds.
All right.
If by the end of you laughing out loud, you haven't gone, oh, fuck, that is horrible, then move on. Especially if it's a comedian.
The best thing about being a comedian is making people laugh at things they wouldn't normally laugh at, and then catching themselves and then laughing again. That's the best thing ever, and you could see it. I performed last night at this casino near me, and these two women in the front row were a little older, a little more conservative, and I caught them a bunch of times laughing at stuff that I could tell they wouldn't normally laugh at, and that made my whole night. I didn't even care if anybody else was laughing, and so when people are sitting there with their arms folded and they're like, waiting to be triggered, stay home. Just stay home.
Absolutely. And by the way, it's okay to be offended and find it funny too. I mean, that can happen.
Oh, absolutely, for sure. Again, great point, and I'm lucky. I kind of have an audience that knows what I do. That doesn't mean I don't want new people all the time to join in with the fun, but I couldn't change and do something completely different, because for the people who already like me, they kind of know what they're going to get with me, and also I think my writing has gotten stronger because I know where we are, I know how the times are with people's sensitivities, and so I can make the same kind of jokes, make the same point, and then also give it another layer where I'm also giving the middle finger to the politically correct douchebags that are out there.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, and there is a balance. I mean, there are things that probably aren't, like there are probably not a whole lot of cancer jokes that are going to be funny, like you were just talking. But the point being, you shouldn't hold back. I don't know. I've always enjoyed what you do. My favorite comedians are always ones that kind of put you on edge a little bit, and that kind of like maybe make your gut tingle a little bit when they hit you with a joke. Like you're kind of going oof. I mean that's the kind of the stuff that I really enjoy. Or I also kind of like the Andy Kaufman thing, where it kind of makes you just uncomfortably like awkward. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think tension's a crucial part of doing comedy. So I definitely agree with all that.
Well, let me just ask you real quick on the as far as doing the stand up, because you've done it for so long. Do you approach it the same way you did, like, 10, 20 years ago before you were doing the metal show, that kind of stuff? Or is it because you've kind of gotten more known for, being that guy, Don Jamieson, who loves metal? Are you a little more keyed in on the music side of stuff? Do you approach it much different as all?
No, I don't approach it any differently. When I perform on 10 at all times, whether there's 5 people in the crowd, 10, 1,000, 2,000, doesn't matter. I give the same show. So as a performer, no. But yeah, as a writer, obviously, again, I do adjust with the times. I
coronavirus.
Certainly. I mean, the whole next album's going to be all about the coronavirus. I know what my audience wants and what they need. So, but no, as far as yeah, I did definitely talk more about rock music in my act than I used to, because it was just sort of one of these things. And I was talking to Brian Posehn about this. It's like, we're always sort of afraid to kind of bring that up in a comedy club, because it's like, oh, well, who's going to know about this band or that band? And then you just sort of realize everybody knows who Ozzy is, everybody knows who Black Sabbath are, and everybody knows who Twisted Sister are. And then you start, and then for the bands that I do bits about that people wouldn't know, like Gwar, I describe them. I say they wear monster costumes on stage, and they decapitate each other with chainsaws, and so I paint the picture of it. But if you're a comic, you need to talk about your life, and if music, and especially hard rock and metal, are such a big part of my life, how do I not talk about it on stage? So, to me, Denim and Laughter is that perfect combination of, for the people who see me in nightclubs, they're getting my nightclub back, and for the people who see me out on the road opening for bands, they're going to see that's all in there too. So it's kind of, like I said, the perfect combo for me.
And being a metal fan, it's got to be really cool to be on Metal Blade Records, right? Are you the only comic on their label?
Well, there's three of us. It's me, Florentine, and Brewer. So, yeah, obviously that, I was the first comic signed at Metal Blade. It's a huge part of why I even put any comedy CDs out, to be honest with you. I was just always wanted, I was like, I want to put out an album, but I want it to be, somehow I want it to be special. And then, I was going out starting to open for bands, and I opened for this band, Charred Walls of the Damned. That's on Metal Blade, and Brian had come out, Brian Slagle, the owner, and he's like, man, he goes, I haven't seen a comedian open for a band in forever, man. That was great. He goes, I don't know how much material you have, but if you have enough for an album, let's do one. And I was like, that's what I was missing.
The hot rumor on the street is that you are on the wish list to come to Rockin' Pod in Nashville this summer. Is that correct?
Yeah, and in fact, I'm glad you reminded me, because I have to get back with them. I think I can actually now fully confirm with them, so I'm really excited to do that.
My first scoop. Can I go with it? I'm just gonna you're confirmed for Nashville Rockin' Pod. I have absolutely no authority, but I am close to the people who run it.
Well, here's what you can say. Here's what I'll give you. You can confirm that I said I was probably going to confirm with them.
There's my blabbermouth headline.
Yeah, that's your big break there.
Thanks a lot, Don. I really appreciate that. Yeah, you can't believe how big that's going to help the show. Well, hey, actually, I hope you actually do end up out there, because we'll see you there if you do. But let's get back to Denim and Laughter. It's already out, right? You're saying there's going to be a vinyl pressing coming soon?
Yeah, exactly. So a couple months for that. The vinyl takes a little longer to get out there in the world. And then the physical CDs, you can come and get at my gigs. But other than that, Apple Music has been a great supporter of the album, and I thank them. And, of course, iTunes with the downloads and all that. So, download it, stream it, whatever. Come grab it at a show, and, we'll end up probably sitting around talking like you and I for an hour after the gig. That's usually what happens.
I wanted to ask you with kind of everything kind of going towards streaming with everything with music. We talked to a lot of artists, obviously, on this, but you're the first comic I've had a chance to kind of. Does that really is that a good thing for comedy as far as records and that kind of thing? Does it benefit you maybe more than music, or is it like kind of weird? Or
no, it's just it's just the way it is. I mean, I don't have nobody has a choice. Musicians, comics, anything you put out now, it's 80% of the sales or people are buying air. Basically, so I can't be against that. I do my albums with rock packaging. This is my fourth one. They're all, the packaging is all based on bands that I love. And so for people who are like you and I, who like that, and that's, it adds a little extra humor to it, and obviously some nostalgia. That's great, but you don't have to know that this is a Saxon album, or a parody of a Saxon album, to enjoy the material.
Right.
I always prefer the physical stuff, and to be honest, 100% honest, I'm paying for all the vinyl to be made, because I don't care if I sell one of them. I just want my album out on vinyl. So if I have a whole box of vinyl sitting in my house and I don't sell any of it, that's fine.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm down for one. I'll make sure I'll pick one up. But are you a vinyl collector?
Yeah, I haven't bought a CD in 10 years. Just only vinyl, which is I don't have a lot of addictions, Baco. So I spend a lot of money on vinyl. That's not a bad vice to have. So
no, it'll probably actually be worth more down the line as opposed to most addictions.
Well, and it's crazy too, man, because I do it for the love of it, and I'm trying to, you try to find original pressings, and I found a German pressing of AC/DC Power Age, and, I got a Spanish version of, Spanish pressing of Rainbow, Straight Between the Eyes, and I love all that aspect of collecting, But, I also log all my albums into an app called Discogs, and that sort of gives you an idea.
I was just going to ask you that. Awesome.
Oh, dude, and it's amazing. I'm like, wow, I have that, I have a giant pile of money in my house, that I didn't realize, how much some of this stuff is worth. So, that's at some point, I don't have any kids, and I never will, so I got nobody to hand this off to. So, I don't know where it's going, but
I literally told my wife last night, all you need is my Discogs login information when I die, and then you'll know how much money you can get for which of my records are worth anything. You know what I mean? You don't have to just sell them for bulk for $50 or something. You can get actual value, but.
Yeah, my will is on Discogs.com.
Yeah, no shit. Yeah, I have a Kiss collection in storage tubs, and then my vinyl.
There you go. Well, what else would a woman want?
Exactly. I mean, apparently me. She married me, but we'll see how long that holds up. All right. Well, hey, Don, you've been more than gracious with your time at this point. The record, Denim Laughter, is out and available everywhere right now, coming out on vinyl soon. I encourage all our listeners to pick up a copy of that vinyl so Don doesn't get stuck with, a few 100,000 or whatever these things in his basement. But anything else we need to pitch here besides the fact that I broke the story you're coming to Rockin' Pod?
I think that's it, man. And to be honest with you, I've been doing press for 3 weeks. This is the funnest interview I did, man. So thanks a lot for, I've been on the phone a lot in the last 3 weeks, and you made this a lot of fun, man. I appreciate it.
Well, I can't tell you how much that means to me, but I really hope we catch up with you in Nashville. I think you sound like a guy that it'd be fun to share a drink with. So
we shall have a coronavirus curing beer together.
All right. All the best, Don. You have a good night.
You as well.